This is the CineSnob Podcast.
Hey everybody, and welcome to episode 348 of the CineSnob Podcast. My name's Cody Villafana. I am joined here today by Kiko Martinez and Jocelyn Duran for another week of movies to cover. And finally, we're kind of on track in terms of we're actually talking about movies that open this week instead of moving backwards. So that's cool.
It's all right. We talked a little bit about how there wasn't anything to talk about, but there was one thing. Robert Duvall passed away.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
Too bad.
Yeah. I think many people probably have like different favorite performances of his because he worked so long and had so many great roles. Was he still working or had he retired at this point?
I think he was probably retired, or at least got a step back. I don't think he had made a movie in like 3 years or so, 3 or 4 years.
Yeah. Let me see here, because he was in the So the I remember he was in that. Oh, that was like a long time ago. Never mind. The last movie he did was 2022. Yeah, okay. The Judge was the last thing I was remembering, and that was 2014. It was 12 years ago, which I thought you could have told me that was like 5 years ago, and I would have believed it.
Yeah.
But yeah, his last movie was something called The Pale Blue Eye. Looks like it was a Netflix movie. It was a Scott Cooper movie.
Okay. Yeah, I didn't see it, but I know, I remember it. Yeah, he won one Oscar. I think everybody saw him. I don't know if you went to a school that put movies on during the day, but I remember in English class we watched To Kill a Mockingbird. So that was the first time I saw him. Mm-hmm. Of course, after you read the book and then you watch the movie type of thing. So, yeah, it's a pretty big loss in Hollywood.
Yeah, absolutely. I remember one thing that I watched him in a lot when I was younger was Kicking and Screaming, the Will Ferrell soccer movie where he played Will Ferrell's dad. Yeah. A movie that I feel is pretty underrated. 2005, 41% on Rotten Tomatoes, but I feel like a little bit underrated in my opinion. And yeah, Robert Duvall, Will Ferrell playing father and son. Pretty fun.
Yeah, that's crazy. The generational thing. The one that I remember most when I was a kid was The Natural. He played a reporter in that movie. That was always chasing Robert Redford to try to get the story of where he came from. So, but yeah, that was everybody, of course, Godfather.
I think everyone, of course, yeah. Napalm in the Morning for me. Yeah.
Do you like the smell of napalm in the morning, Jocelyn?
I love the smell of napalm in the morning. Charlie, don't, sir.
Yeah, so that was the kind of like the big unfortunate movie news. Sometimes the movie news is interesting, sometimes it's very sad. So
he had a good long life, a great career. He got an Oscar. I don't think it's sad. It's like.
And Kiko, you had an interesting interaction with Robert Duvall at South by Southwest, right?
Yeah. Back in 2015, I got a chance to interview him, and setting up the interview, a couple of weeks prior, they told me that I was going to do a roundtable interview with him. So I was like, okay, that's fine. It's better than nothing. So when you think roundtable, you think 5 to 10 journalists. So I walked in, ready to, ask a couple of questions. I wasn't going to get that much time. And when I walked in, it was just him and his wife and one other journalist and myself. So it was just 4 of us for about half an hour talking, and he was dropping names, and my mind was blowing up as he was talking about, Apocalypse Now, The Godfather. I asked him about Clint Eastwood and, working with other big names. He brought up like a Wilford Brimley quote, and it was just like really surreal. So, but yeah,
Brimley quote, huh?
Yeah, exactly. Something about oatmeal. I don't know, but yeah. It was pretty fun.
Famous poet Wilford Brimley.
Exactly.
But yeah, those are those. I want to see Lonesome Dove. I didn't get to see Lonesome Dove, and sort of similar roundtable. I interviewed Larry McMantry once, and I've never gotten to go back and see that. And I know it's excellent. And then hearing the remembrances today, someone mentioned his performance in that one, and they said he's almost like a knight. It's a Western, of course, but I don't know. I'm gonna go back and watch that one. I've never gotten to do that. So.
Oh yeah, no, it's a great. I haven't revisited that miniseries in a while, but one of his most underrated. Well, it's underrated because it didn't get as many accolades as it needed to that year when it was Apostle.
Oh yeah.
I remember I really thought he should have won the Oscar that year, but Jack Nicholson won for As Good as It Gets, which was a good movie, but or a good performance. But
I
what he
remember
does in
that
The
year.
Impossible, was amazing. What he did with that one.
Yeah. So, rest in peace to Robert Duvall. Died at 95. That is a good long life. So, yeah. So let's go ahead and move on, and we'll talk a little bit about the movies coming out this week. And here we go.
Here are this week's reviews.
So first up, we have Wuthering Heights, and I'm giving that in quotations because if you did not know, that is the stylized title of the movie, because this is a loose adaptation, and Emerald Fennell said that she was not comfortable putting it out there as such, as like a direct... What's that?
Nothing. I said loose.
Okay. So this is, of course, again, a loose adaptation of the novel that was published in 1847, and features Jacob Elordi and Margot Robbie in the famous roles that have been done many times before in the past, and tragedy strikes when Heathcliff falls in love with Catherine Earnshaw, a woman from a wealthy family in 18th century England, is the log line. And I mean, I have some thoughts on this movie. And I think a lot of it stems from, I don't know. I mean, I think I mentioned this sort of like in passing last time when I was previewing the next week, which is that Emerald Fennell seems to really get some strong reactions from people for whatever reason. I mean, I'm not the biggest fan in the world. I really did not like Promising Young Woman. I thought Saltburn was fine. What's that?
Oh, I just said really. You didn't like? I don't remember you not like.
No, I actually kind of hated it, if I'm being honest. But Saltburn I thought was a little bit better for my personal taste. But whatever reason, she's been a little bit of a lightning rod for discourse online. And
did she replace? Because I remember before her was Lena Dunham that would kind of do the same thing, right? She kind of took
sort
over.
of, except for I think with her stuff was like a little bit more like pointed because she wasn't really doing all that much except for Girls at that time when like she became really big with the discourse. Whereas I think Emerald Fennell has done quite a bit of stuff.
And also Lena Dunham was controversial more for like her personal life and the things she was saying like as a person, not like the work. Like she had some real bad things that she said personally, like in her book and stuff that people really attacked and honestly rightfully so. It wasn't necessarily like the movies that she was putting out because there weren't any. I think she only had like tiny furniture and like Girls. So Emerald Fennell. Anyway, that was just to clarify that.
Yeah. So and I have to admit that I have not seen many of the adaptations of this novel, if any. I'm sure I may have seen one maybe at some point in passing, but I'm not like super well versed in this story or other adaptations of it. But I think the movie has like one flaw that kind of like permeates the entire thing for me, which is, so this is like an R-rated movie and it is like meant to be like horny, right? Like that's the whole thing about this movie. It starts with people like, I don't think it's a spoiler to talk about how this movie begins, which is like a guy is like hanged and he's also hung, as you see in this scene. That's a joke because he has a... Never mind. But it starts with like people going into a frenzy and like the guy like getting hanged is like he has an erection during it and so like right off the bat it's like, okay, we're taking a trip to horny town, right? So I think here's the problem, right, is that for a movie this horny, it's like very tame in terms of like it's it's sort of like
you mean
expression
for
of
a movie
sex.
that's billed as being this horny. Like
no,
I
think this is the intention of the movie is to be. It starts with a close up of a boner. Like
okay.
I mean, this movie is like objectively meant to be horny, right? And even if you read Emerald Fennell's sort of like quotes on like adapting this movie, you know, she talks a little bit about that. Like I just had a quote up. I'm trying to find it, but I might have lost it here. But that's kind of like the you know, one of the, I think, major goals of the you know, of the movie. And you know, the problem I have with it is that, again, it is almost like tame in its presentation of, I think it's sexual. So here we go. So she said in her goals for the film, she said, I wanted to make something that made me feel like I felt when I first read it, which means that it's an emotional response to something. It's like primal sexual, right? So like it's supposed to elicit that response, or it's like supposed to be an expression of that response.
That's what I mean. I'm asking you if like it was marketed as that and it was like sold as that. Not necessarily
a little bit.
Yeah.
But I think it's also present in the work.
Okay, that was my question.
Yeah, so this reminded me a little bit of like Baby Girl, where I feel like it has like an expression of sex that feels like completely off for some reason. Again, it's tame. Like this is a movie where there's a lot of sex going on in it, but there's like no nudity going on whatsoever throughout it. And it's not like graphic in its sex scenes. It like explores like BDSM as like a major plot point throughout the movie with Heathcliff. But again, it's like the most tame version of this, sort of like Baby Girl was in many ways, where it just doesn't feel realistic in any particular way. Like especially if you're going to like feature this film that has like something like BDSM or kink front and center, but yet you're not gonna like go there. You're not gonna like explore any of that to just like, again, you know, with like it features a scene with a character that's like being treated literally like a dog, similarly to Baby Girl.
Consensually.
Yeah.
Consensually.
Sure. But like that's about as like far as it gets is any of that. So I don't understand, like, again, you've got the R rating that you're working with. You clearly want to explore something like sexual, but yet it feels tame. And this fits into the problem that I have with the movie at large, which is that the center relationship here in the movie between you know, Margot Robbie and Jacob Elordi playing you know, Catherine and Heathcliff is, you know, it's so like sexually charged because, again, through there's stretches of this movie where they're literally just like meeting for sex, that to me it feels more lusty than love. I don't really buy into this sort of like really longing, yearning romance that's there, especially because there's such a gap between like when they're together and then when they're apart, and then when they're back, it does seem almost exclusively about sex at that point. And it's also about sex right before they part ways. And so it doesn't work for me on this like romance level, again, like a yearning love. But then it also doesn't work on the lust level because it is so tame in the way that it treats it. And so it ends up being bad at both. And I feel like it's caught in this like no man's land of like, it's not, I don't buy into this as being like they're sort of drawn to the sexual nature of it, nor do I find it to they're drawn towards the romantic nature of it. So I feel like it just whiffs on both counts. In addition to that, I think that like, I don't think that like the accent work is particularly good in this. It's a little bit weird that you're casting two Australians to play these very British characters. Hong Chow, I don't know what is going on with that British accent that seems to come and go sort of at random. And so I feel like that falls a little bit flat. I don't think that this movie works on a script level. I feel like it's, you know, the jokes don't really land for me. And so I think the only thing that I can give this movie credit for is that it looks good visually. I think Emerald Fennell is a like a talented visual director, and it definitely has style to it. It definitely has like good costume work. It definitely has interesting cinematography and production design, and like the technical aspects are fine. But if you want me to buy into this love story, I'm not, because I feel like, again, it's too centered on lust, and the lust is too tepid to really ever leap off a screen for me. So I think that this is a pretty bad movie overall. I had a really bad time with it. But why don't we go ahead and go to Kiko and give us your thoughts on this adaptation of Wuthering Heights.
Yeah, I had only seen maybe one, maybe two of the past ones, but it's kind of hard to compare because it's such a different movie. So than the one that Emerald Fennell gives. But what I ultimately liked about this one is that it really leans into its own kind of mood and atmosphere, which I thought is what stood out. Like you said, for most of the film, I thought, it's consistently beautiful. The cinematography and the production design, of course. The landscape feels like part of the story because of how isolated it is, much like the characters. So I think Fennell, can I call her Fennell or Emerald? I don't know. She understands that this classic love story is it's as much about loneliness as it is about the romance and the yearning of those are the two main themes that I remember when I first read this book in high school, along with others like Pride and Prejudice and Jane Eyre and I think The Scarlet Letter too, if I'm not mistaken, was in our reading is good list. But what threw me a bit was the marketing for the film. I think Jocelyn just brought it up, but I felt like this was going to be a version of Wuthering Heights that tied that longing between these characters with more sexually explicit scenes, but that didn't happen. So there was no real eroticism. Instead, there was more about like sexual innuendo and some sexually charged moments over like these really explicit scenes. So that caught me off guard because of how it was portrayed in the marketing stuff. So, it kind of threw me for a loop, but I kind of liked that she restrained herself a little bit. I thought that actually strengthened, some of the themes between, like Cody was talking about, that love and lust. It didn't work for him. It worked for me though, because I thought it felt like it was like towing this line between them. I thought that some of the sexual things that happened, kind of showed how desperate these characters are. There's a thin line between those feelings that made me feel like it was the most compelling parts of the film. So performance-wise, I thought the results were mixed. I really liked what Margot Robbie did. She rises to the challenge with a solid performance. But in contrast, I thought Jacob Elordi, he left me underwhelmed as the Heathcliff character. He's brooding. That's baked into his character, right? But I thought his performance leaned way too heavily into it. I thought for a second I was watching a Twilight sequel. For a while I was like, oh, he just needs, I'm not team Heathcliff. That's what I'm trying to say here. So everyone in the film broods, of course, but for Elordi, I think he brooded me to death, if that's a thing. So one of the big pleasures of the film for me was Alison Oliver. She plays the young girl who's kind of like I don't know what was she to the guy that she ended up marrying. Was she the cousin or the sister?
She was a ward.
She was a ward. Okay.
Yeah.
She was a ward. So I thought she stole every scene she was in. I thought she brought this geeky charm that cuts through, all that despair and sadness and gives the film some much needed humor. So, but I'll agree. I'm on the fence with this film. So overall, I didn't think it felt as dangerous as I would have liked it to, based on Fennell's previous work. But I did appreciate some of the changes that she made to the original text that made it her own film. And I saw that she was confident. I just wanted her to push a little harder on it. So that's where I'm at. That's where I'm at with this quote unquote remake.
All right. And Jocelyn, your thoughts?
No, it's just funny. That's what she said joke. You wanted her to push a little harder.
Oh, there you go.
It's disgusting. You have children.
How do you think?
As you're proving right now.
How do you think they're here, Cody? How do you think they exist?
I know how it works. I know how babies are made.
Do you?
So maybe. I love Emerald Fennell. I loved the premise of Promising Young Woman, and I liked it probably for half of the movie, and I was willing to forgive the ending. Saltburn also. I mean, it's so bizarre because I know that these are not perfect movies, but I am seated anytime she has a new movie because I know it's going to be something interesting. And like, I've been trying to explain it to my husband, and I was like, it's almost like her movies have bite. But I think Kiko said it perfectly when he said they're dangerous. I wrote that down because I'm like, that's what I've been trying to explain.
Fucking yawn. Sorry, but I do not agree with that.
Previously. Well, so no, I mean like previously. I mean like, look at like the bathtub scene in Saltburn. Like there are scenes in Saltburn where I was just like, I cannot believe that this female director made this movie. Like this
it was
awesome.
Saltburn and Promising
is crazy.
I thought they were both provocative.
Promising, 100%.
Yeah.
And so I was just like, oh my God. And now we have like the greatest love story of all time, supposedly, you know, Wuthering Heights by Emerald Fennell. So in that regard, it was disappointing because it was definitely not like this X-rated, crazy, dangerous, biting romp that, you know, I think I was expecting for sure. And I know a lot of people, I've been seeing all the videos online where people are like, I thought we were going to an X-rated movie, and their mom or their wife is like sobbing as they're leaving the theater. It was like very much straight up like a romantic movie, like romance. I disagree that there wasn't any lust or romance. So for me, what I took away from the relationship that they had was how much they loved to drive each other crazy. And that's, I think, what the premise was, because even on the posters, it says drive me mad. And in the final scene, you know, I'm not going to spoil it, but he's like, you know, upset and yelling at her, like, drive me mad. Like he misses like how she would just play with it. Like they were like little play things for each other. Like they were just constantly driving each other crazy, which I really loved to watch. I loved it. I loved to see that. I love to see Margot Robbie as a spoiled brat. I thought that was fun. Like, she is not a perfect character. She is a bitch a lot of times, and she's flawed, and I think it's great. Also, she's just incredibly beautiful. Like, I mean, let's just watch a movie with her in these incredible, like, costumes and scenery. Like, I was eating it all up. And I'm like, God, she's just beautiful and talented and amazing. I agree with Kiko that Jacob Elordi was very disappointing in my opinion. I was not like falling head over heels in love with Heathcliff. I think it was too much. I'm really disappointed because of how good he was in Frankenstein. I was really expecting something better, and it just wasn't great. So that was disappointing to me. But all that to say, I still had a really nice time, even though it wasn't necessarily what I was signing up for. And yeah, I think that's where I land. All
right. So then we will go ahead and move on to final thoughts and grades. And I think I made my opinion like pretty clear here, which is that I think that it just really does not work on any level. So, you know, Jocelyn, you were talking about like they like drive each other crazy, which I think is like that can work if they're driving each other crazy because they are in love with one another. And I feel, or because they can't get enough of each other sexually, right?
Right.
And I feel like neither of those things really work. So the driving themselves crazy is just like annoying to me. Because it's just watching these two like imperfect people be imperfect with one another and like engage in what ultimately ends up being a whole lot of self-sabotage with like not a whole lot of like reasoning behind it. So it doesn't feel like tragic when it doesn't end up working out between them initially, because I'm like, okay, well, like I don't really buy them loving each other one way because they're just pestering each other or whatever. And then when it rolls around again, I'm like, okay, well, this is just like entirely sexual here.
Never been married. Clearly the only unmarried person on this podcast.
Oh, sure. Well, I don't want to touch a nerve there, so.
No, I'm just kidding. It's just a joke. But seriously, like marriage is very similar.
Yeah. So, I mean, so that's kind of like ultimately, you know, where I land on it, right? Which is just like, I don't think that it works as a lust story. I don't think it works as a love story. And so, therefore, it's just caught in this no man's land of not working on any level, in addition to just being, like, again, not too fun of a watch for me. So I think this is probably my least favorite of her movies, and I'm giving this a C-. I think this is a bad movie. Kiko, your final thoughts and score.
Yeah, I think just overall, I think she crafted a beautiful film. I thought the atmosphere played a lot into that. It did a lot of the heavy lifting, as did Jacob Elordi's Goldtooth. I don't know. Margot Robbie made sense to me. I thought, she took this iconic role head on, but she didn't get any help from her side character or her side piece, Jacob Elordi. I thought he was one note. I thought he even as he's delving deeper into this toxic masculinity, it didn't really give us anything that was different than before. So again, the unexpected standout was Alison Oliver. I think she really brought it. She brought some surprising humor. And I admired the liberties that Fennell takes with the source material. So again, but I needed a little bit more her to be a little bit more of a provocateur. Hopefully we'll see that in her next film. But I'm still recommending this with a B-.
And Jocelyn.
Yeah. I've been seeing a lot of I had no idea how controversial Emerald Fennell is. I'm seeing so much hate online that I'm just where is this coming from? It's crazy. And while it wasn't my favorite of her movies for sure, I still think it was a very enjoyable experience. And when I think of bad movies, I think of Love Hurts, remember? Where it was I couldn't sit a second in that theater. It was so bad. And that is something that I would definitely never recommend. This I think isn't bad. It's and I'm not going to even say it's tolerable. I'm going to say that maybe it wasn't what I wanted, but it's still better than a ton of things that are getting pushed down our throats now. So I'm going to give it a B-.
Okay. One last sex pun for Jocelyn there before we move on to our next film.
What, Love Hurts? What was my pun?
Push it down our throats. Okay. Let's move on to our next film. Good luck, have fun, don't die. So this film is directed by Gore Verbinski, and it is his first directed movie in almost a decade. So his last movie was A Cure for Wellness that came out in, well, actually, technically speaking, it is a decade, but because it came out in 2016. And so this is a movie that I saw back in September because it was a secret screening at Fantastic Fest. And it is a film starring Sam Rockwell. And the basic plot here again is a man claiming to be from the future takes the patrons of an iconic Los Angeles diner hostage in search of unlikely recruits in a quest to save the world. So features Sam Rockwell in this lead role. Opens with what is the best scene in the movie, in my opinion, which is Sam Rockwell sort of breaking into a diner, trying to explain that, he is from the future and he is trying to prevent basically kind of like a world-ending event from happening. He's been to this diner 117 times in the past, and he's trying to find the right combination of people to go on a mission with him to try to prevent, all of these terrible things from happening, basically to save the world, and ends up finding a handful of people to go with him. And then throughout the course of the movie, we learn more about the people that he has joining him and what their backstories are, kind of how they led to join him. And every piece of these chapters that you see of the other characters have some element of satire about technology, as is the entire movie, a satire on technology and AI and the sort of obsession that people have with their phones and stuff like that. So so I would say above all else, this movie is a kind of a sci-fi satire. And I think the thing that I think everyone is sort of turning to as a comparison point is Black Mirror, because this is basically from the Black Mirror playbook here, where it is just the plot in general, but also you're seeing little stories that happen throughout the movies with these characters that could be Black Mirror episodes by themselves. You see, with Zazie Beetz and Michael Pena, they are teachers and they are...
Who was in an episode of Black Mirror, by the way? Zazie Beetz.
Oh, okay. Yeah. And they are basically teachers who are sort of being hunted by kids that are on their phone. With Juno Temple's character, she plays a mom whose son died in a school shooting, and there's a technology that exists that like clones people who have died in school shootings. It's a very bold and dark plot point.
That's when I texted you, this movie's fucked.
Yeah, but it does so in a way that's like really smart, I think, and I think it's to the credit of the screenwriter Matthew Robinson, who I think like pulls off what is ultimately like a very, very dark plot point and like writes legitimate funny jokes within it that actually makes you laugh. Like there's some very, very dark humor.
Okay, name one. Name one that you like.
Like the jokes?
Yeah.
There's a joke regarding there's a joke where you can like clone your kid who died, and you can select all of the different personality traits to do it, and one of the traits in there is unhinged, and Juno Temple makes a comment about it, and the guy goes, "Oh, that's usually for people who are parents of the shooters." And like again, like it's just very, very dark stuff. And then you have like what part of the emotional center of the film, which is Haley Lou Richardson, who plays a girl who is like allergic to technology. So you have these like little Black Mirror episodes that are sprinkled throughout, like mini episodes sprinkled throughout this sort of like movie that's led by Sam Rockwell, sort of like driving and striving to, get as far as he can, because, again, he's tried this 116 times before in the past. This is his 117th try. He's gotten various levels of and degrees of success, and then it ends up falling apart. So he's trying to figure out how to finally complete this mission. It's a movie that I feel has a really strong start. I think the setup is great. I think as we see these little Black Mirror-y chapters, especially the one with Juno Temple, I think that works really well. I think that to me feels like there is an episode of Black Mirror in the middle of this movie. And by the way, this is a compliment, right? Because Black Mirror for anyone who hasn't seen it, is a show that really
one of the best shows ever.
Yeah, I mean it's. You like it a little bit more than I do, but I think that it's very good at various times great, but it's always sort of like dark satire involving some element of like technology in some way.
Well, that's what the Black Mirror is,
right?
It's the phone, it's the Black Mirror.
Yes.
So, sorry,
yeah.
In case people didn't know.
Yeah. So I think when it's operating on this level, I think that it's like really interesting and like legitimately like bold filmmaking, especially in certain chapters of it. It's smart and sharp satire on tech and stuff like that. I feel like as the movie progresses, it kind of loses the thread a little bit. And I feel like it's unfortunate because the second half of this movie is sort of like trying to take down this AI, and then it starts to get like a little bit weird. It starts to get a little bit convoluted in the plot. This movie is way longer than it needs to be. It is like 2 hours and 15 minutes, which is way, way too long. And I do think that it starts to sort of like crumble under the weight of its ambition at a certain point. I think the performances are good across the board. Sam Rockwell, almost always really great. This opening scene in the movie is awesome, and he's really great in it. And I think he does play some emotional beats really well. But I don't know, like, this is something that, again, and maybe it's because it's Black Mirror coded, but it almost feels like this could have been like a series rather than a movie, where I feel like, you could have made episodes out of like each of these chapters and then found something a little bit more interesting to do, by the time where you have like, giant CGI animals doing things. I'm sort of like, where are we going with this here? And I've
giant
lost...
CGI animal ding dongs.
Yes, but at that point, I'm sort of like, well, I feel like we're losing the plot here of the satire, right? Like at that point, it doesn't feel like anymore that it's about sort of like technology or anything else at that point. It just feels like it's become something else, just trying to lean into the weirdness a little bit. So it ultimately ends up being a mixed bag that I think is very front loaded. There's flashes of brilliance here mixed in with like really sort of like you're hitting the brakes narratively a couple of times throughout the movie that really ultimately puts me a little bit more on the fence that I would have liked to have been based on how the movie starts. But Jocelyn, we'll go ahead and go to you to get your thoughts.
Yeah, I asked your favorite joke because we had the same favorite joke from Hard Eyes like a year ago. So I was like, and we got so close. I almost had the same favorite joke as you.
Yes.
But
I do think I know what yours is, though.
Oh, please. Okay, guess.
Is it where the parents said that they were having fun with this time around with their...
Yep. Okay. It was exactly that. And I texted you, of course, during that, right when the Juno temple story started. It definitely felt like a Black Mirror episode. I think that's when everybody, even online, are like they're making the comparisons. Mm-hmm. And also, how triggered I am by that stuff. Like, it's seriously one of the most upsetting things, but they found a way to somehow make it funny and really like turning it around. And that's what satire does, obviously. So for me, it was when same thing, like you said, when they were like, there was one family and they had like, oh, it was so sad, like multiple different clones. And they were like, now we're just having fun with it. And they're like, we just made her crazy tall. But my favorite part was like, yeah. And then we made her Muslim. And so she's coming up to us and asking us, are we Muslim? And they're like, just you, sweetie. Yeah. I was like dying. I'm like, this is so funny. This doesn't have any right to be this funny about something that is so upsetting. Mm-hmm. Also, kudos to Juno Temple. I mean, of course, from Ted Lasso, but she's excellent in this. Sam Rockwell's one of my favorite. And then the lead, what's her name? Haley Lou
Richardson.
She's also from White Lotus from the Italian season. And I was really happy to see her again. I think she's very good in this. I really liked her storyline with her boyfriend and how they, why she's in that restaurant. Mm-hmm. It's kind of Pulp Fiction-y, actually, because like it starts in a diner and there's like not a holdup, but a something that's happening, and then you kind of like get to know the backstories of these people and how they're coming together, and it's all very fun. And I was having a blast, but I totally agree with you that the wheels kind of fell off at the end. And it could have been such a clean ending. It would have been such a good movie. And then they just kind of drag it on. And then there's like, it gets really ridiculous. And it's like, dang it. Why wouldn't I wish they had just like literally tightened it up a little at the end for me.
Yeah. And Kiko, your thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, I need to watch more TV. That's what I'm getting out of this.
Because I
well, the thing about Black Mirror is that the episodes are like movie length. They're like an hour to an hour and a half each episode.
Only recently. They used to be much shorter. Like at the beginning, the first few seasons, they were more like, less long. But now, nowadays they are like literally full-length movies.
Well, I'm not sure if it was Cody who recommended me to start watching it or somebody else, but I did watch episode 1 of season 1 with the pig, so I got that far.
The national anthem is what it's called.
Exactly. So, but I love a surrealist dark comedy, and I thought I was up for something that I would really enjoy with this Good Luck movie. I thought it had some flashes of creativity. I thought the strongest element was by far with Sam Rockwell, his off the wall performance as this time traveler guy was really odd to me and fun. So I thought he played unhinged, if you want to say that word again, enough to make me believe that I would get really into this film, but unfortunately I didn't. I thought, I'll agree with Cody, and I think we talked about it after I saw the film, was the initial setup. The first scene was the best part of the film. I thought it was really smartly constructed, although, as it kept on going, what got me was that what happened to me was that I got tired of it, I guess, a little bit. It became tiresome. So it started to lose me with this buy-in that everybody had to give the Rockwell character without earning it at the beginning, or as the movie continued, I never quite believed that this group of characters would place so much trust in him or follow him so willingly into such risky things that they were doing. So if you're into that leap of faith, I guess that's fine, but for me it was illogical most of the time. So don't get me wrong, this is a very imaginative film. It does not lack in that aspect, but when it comes to that, I think it also hurts the narrative because it just gets overstuffed. It kept on adding these concepts and all these tonal shifts, and the story just began to feel diluted to me. and it had nothing to do with this film, but it as I was watching it, it reminded me of how I felt as I was watching Everything Everywhere All at Once. It just, it's very fascinating, but in small doses. But by the time it was finished, I was just exhausted with everything that I was being hit with. So
it has a similar style for sure.
Right. I think I admired it for, swinging for the fences like that, but I just overall thought there was just too much of it, and it just kind of knocked me over the head. So that's where I am with that one.
Yeah. All right, we'll get into final thoughts and grades. And yeah, I mean, I think it's just, again, it is a very ambitious movie, and I feel like sometimes it handles its ambition really, really well, and then sometimes it kind of crumbles under the weight of it, because I do think that it is just like a flood of ideas that happens in this movie, and they're throwing everything at the wall and seeing what sticks, and it kind of like works thematically early on. And it's one of those things, and I know this is not super great analysis, but it kind of like works until it doesn't. And I think like,
right.
two-thirds maybe into the movie, it just kind of stops working. And I think it's unfortunate because there are pieces of this movie that are like some of the smartest satire. And also too, like I said, I can't undersell how kind of like bold it is at times, where I remember watching it at Fantastic Fest and I was like, I wonder how people are going to react to this, because this is like direct jokes about school shootings in a way that the joke is how real it all is, right? And I think that it's walking a tightrope during those scenes and doing so like incredibly well. Though I could easily see how someone might find it offensive, but I think to me it's done with the right intentions in mind, which is to be satirical. So, again, moments of greatness that seem to be sort of like balanced out by moments of just sort of like spinning its wheels a little bit. It's overlong, it's overstuffed. I feel like this could have been tightly edited to something that would have been a little bit more cohesive, and maybe just like wrangled in an idea or two and keep it like really centrally focused. So, I'm on this sort of B- C+ sort of balancing beam here. And I think that because the satire works so well and I appreciate the swing of it all, I am going to give this a B-. But it's again is a mixed bag. So Jocelyn, we'll go to you for your final thoughts and grade.
Yeah, I think honestly that's why I'm such a big Black Mirror fan, because like this type of satire and being able to make fun of something that's like so extremely sad and dark is like, that's my thing. Like I hate it when it's like sort of downplayed or anything. I feel like you really have to confront these types of things head on because it's a reality, and to not do it that way, it almost diminishes how fucked up it is in a way. I don't know how to explain it, but that's honestly, it's just the same way how I feel about Black Mirror. And some of my favorite episodes of Black Mirror are the ones that people are like, that one's too dark, and I'm like, I know, and I love it because that's the world that we live in. And so anyway, other than that, I think it was convoluted at the end, the wheels fell off, but I would still definitely recommend it. I think the trailer is also not doing it any justice. A lot of people are saying that it doesn't look very good from the trailer, and I think if you just watch it, it's much better than the trailer makes it seem. And I'm gonna give it a B.
Okay, and Kiko.
Ooh, Cody and I are on the same balancing beam. So he was pushed positively. I'm slightly pushed negatively. So, when I finished the movie, I text Cody. I was like, that was just really silly. And so I'll just keep it to that. I mean, I thought Sam Rockwell was great. He gives the film a lot of personality whenever he's on screen. But I mean, as the story unfolds, I was more skeptical with the ideas. I was more skeptical with all these things happening too fast and too furious. And so for me, it was just an overload on my senses at least. So I'm giving this a C+.
Okay.
I forgot to also say the twist is very apparent.
Yeah.
That was another negative for me. Maybe B- because of that, because the twist was
you have to decide now.
Yeah, I'm sorry, I forgot.
Is it affecting your grade or no?
Yes, B- because the twist is very clear. It's like you'd have to be a moron.
So
not
we're
to
all on
figure
the
it
same
out.
balancing beam.
Yeah. I forgot about that.
All right. So we're going to move on to our final film of the episode, Nirvana, the band, the show, the movie. So I'm going to provide a little bit of like context here because I feel like this movie has a few things working against it that I feel like have to be clarified to kind of like get people interested in it. So I first saw this movie at South by Southwest last year, and I went to the world premiere of this movie, the very first screening of it. And to this day, I believe that it is the most fun I've ever had watching a movie with a crowd ever. It's between this and Disaster Artist, another South by Southwest premiere that I went to. Like the vibe in that room was like literally the room was like buzzing with like how like funny this movie was, how inventive it was. And you know, it helps when like the people who made it are in the room and stuff like that. But it was just one of the best screenings I've ever went to. And I went into this movie having only seen one episode of the source material. So the first thing I think that people need to know about this movie is that it has nothing at all to do with the band, like the Kurt Cobain band Nirvana. In fact, it is spelled with 2 N's in this movie. This is because of a copyright issue. But I think a lot of people who read this movie, or I've told about this movie to go see it, have thought immediately it's about the band and maybe I made a typo or something. No, nothing to do with the Kurt Cobain Nirvana. The other thing is that this movie is like a continuation of like a 20-year-long creative project where it started off as a web series called Nirvana the Band, and then it became a TV show called Nirvana the Band the Show, and now this is Nirvana the Band the Show the movie. So, number one, the title, not doing it any favors because it is confusing and in several different ways. But the thing I will tell people is that I watched this movie having seen one episode of the TV show. The two of you had watched this movie having never seen any of it. And I think that it's fine. Like, I don't think you need to have any kind of context because basically the TV show and the web series all have the same plot as the movie, which is these two guys have a band called Nirvana the Band, and they're trying to get booked at this club called the Rivoli in Toronto. And every episode they try to like invent a new scheme in order to get booked there. And like, that's it. That is the show. And then each show, like the TV show, they kind of like parody a different like existing property, TV show, movie, something like that throughout it. So there's the setup, right? Is that very simple thing where this time around they're trying to get booked at the Rivoli, and they have a sort of plan that goes wrong, and then they try to sort of fix it and end up accidentally time traveling and getting stranded in the past and look, this movie ends up being just basically a parody of Back to the Future. I think that's what you need to know is that though this movie is a continuation of this TV series and web series, this is a Back to the Future parody. And it is directed by Matt Johnson, who had some really good success with BlackBerry a few years ago. So much so that after the success of BlackBerry, the Canadian government agreed to fund his next project. And so this is what he chose. So this entire movie was funded by the government of Canada.
Oh my God, they must have been so mad.
I don't know, maybe, but actually it made a ton of money in Canada.
But still, after like BlackBerry, you think it's going to be like some big blockbuster, and it's this insanity.
Yeah, absolutely. And so Matt Johnson said this at the Q&A that it was funded by the Canadian government. So amazing work on his end to get this done. And, you know, I think part of the reason why the movie was in the screening was so much fun is that this movie is, number one, I think incredibly funny. It's also incredibly inventive in the way that it's made. So the TV show, and I guess the web series too, by extension, it's kind of like this blend between like narrative stuff and then like hidden camera messing with real life people on the streets of Toronto stuff. So it kind of has like, I think one of the first movies to really do this was like the Jackass Bad Grandpa movie that sort of incorporated like stunts and stuff into like a narrative. Didn't really work all that well. It's been tried a few times. The Impractical Jokers movie does it to not a lot of success.
Uncle Drew.
Yeah. And then there's Bad Trip, the Eric Andre one, which I think is actually one of the better examples because that movie actually is very funny and the narrative works. This, I think, is probably the best example ever made that I've seen of incorporating like real life people getting, you know, being on camera and like a narrative. And so And so it's really funny. I think those elements of it really work. And then there's also like moments of ingenuity where like there's some stuff in this movie that happens that is like very clearly like not real. Like there's no possible way that it's real, but it's done so well in a way that like 5 different times, if not more, in this movie, you're sitting there watching and going like, how the fuck did they pull this off? Like, how is this happening? Because they get a lot of like really great reaction shots from like real people. There's some stuff that's like stunt based that looks really good that like it's like almost impossible. They're like one thing they talk a lot about at Q&As is like they didn't have permits for anything. They just kind of like showed up and shot, and because like everyone's polite in Canada, nobody really questions them. There's some stuff that happens at like a press conference where they actually like showed up to the event that was happening and like just started filming and nobody really questioned them. There's just like great moments of like really smart filmmaking where they're able to incorporate stuff that like, yeah, you probably know is not really happening, but they make it look real. Like there's like a fake thing that's going on in the movie that like they're next to a bar that's like playing fake news stories of this stuff that's going on, and people from the bar are like pointing out, like it's just such a cool inventive way of making a movie. And so you get this like Back to the Future / buddy time travel movie. And I think the movie works even if you don't have an established relationship with these characters. You know, there's at least like 5 or 6 moments of this movie that like there's jokes in this movie that I've literally been thinking about for like 1 calendar year. In particular, there's a joke regarding the movie The Hangover that is like so smart and so clever and so funny that like literally I've been like waiting a year to talk with people about that. And it's funny because I've known about this joke for a year, and then when people are like responding and reacting to the movie, everyone's like pointing out that joke, and I'm like, yeah.
And it's done really subtly too.
Yeah, totally.
It's not like I had to like ask you about if that's what that was happening, because I was like, I'm pretty sure that's what was happening, but I like that it wasn't like super apparent.
Yeah, it's a very subtle sort of like, you have to kind of like put 2 and 2 together to get the joke a little bit, but once you do, it's incredibly funny. There's a great like shocking sequence that happens in the movie where like my theater was like laughing for a full like minute after it was happening. There's I'm trying to think of what else was like some like hinting towards some of my favorite jokes within the movie. You know, there's some really small stuff that I think works really well. You know, there's clearly like moments where they're like showing up at places that aren't, you know, really for them. Like they're filming at like this huge concert that is meant to be for another character, but you know, you can clearly tell that that's, you know, they're crashing someone else's concert for it. There's the opening sequence that happens, like the first big sort of attempt to get attention, I think is incredibly funny and incredibly well done. And one other thing too that they do that's like really, really smart, and just another example of great filmmaking, is they take like part of the time travel is like they switch cameras, and so they make their new stuff look like their old stuff. And they have this like old deleted scenes that they never used for their web series like 20 years ago. And they like make their current selves interact with their old selves through old footage. And it's just like so well like thought through and crafted. And so it really makes this like time travel plot work. So, you know, and there's one other line that I think there's like a very meta moment where they reference copyright inside the movie that is just a really funny, like when that scene happened in the theater, because it's referencing like actually watching the movie in the theater, like the theater just died at that part. So for me, so Kiko, we were talking about like when we did the end of the year list, you were asking about like movies that came out I saw at festivals that didn't come out this year. This movie would have been my number 10 in my top 10 list had this movie come out last year, for sure. I would have put this is a perfect number 10 slot. That's like, maybe it's not like the best movie in the world, but it's so creatively made. It's really, really funny. And like, obviously it's like this like very low budget movie that like makes use of every single cent by using every trick in the book to like inflate it. And yeah, I can't get enough of this movie and talking about it. I wish everyone would go see it, because it's just like, it's something that you probably haven't seen quite before. And if you're a fan of, you know, humor that incorporates like real people, like kind of like Impractical Jokers kind of thing, or even like Jackass to some degree. There's that incorporated with like a really funny comedic story at the heart of it. So I really, really love this movie. And yeah, I will go ahead and pass to Kiko to get your thoughts.
Yeah, we can't tell you like the movie. Oh my God. I have to edit myself real quick. I said that when we saw when we saw Good Luck, Have Fun, Don't Die, I texted you and said that it was silly. But this is they're both silly, but this is the one that I texted you like, that was really silly. So anyway, I mostly liked this film. And it's all comes down to these two central performers that I was not aware of. I mean, they operate on their completely own wavelength, much like, two other comedian actors that Cody has introduced me to, which are Nathan Fielder and Tim Robinson. So I didn't know anything about them until Cody let me in on them, and then I knew nothing about these guys in Nirvana until Cody did the same thing. So these dry type of performers just are really they really I enjoy them. I enjoy them a lot. So I thought again this approach was a lot funner. Is it more fun or
more
funner?
Fun?
More fun, really? Is it more fun? I thought than something like Impractical Jokers, the movie. The TV show's fine, but what they try to do with the movie, I thought it was just repetitious. So I think here the comedy comes down from the two guys. They're quirky and silly and dumb ideas. So the humor, you have to be patient with it. I think I talked to Cody. I was like, that final scene is so long. You just gotta wait. It's like one of those like super long jokes that you don't get it's a 10-minute joke. Scene? Well, just the way that it ends. I mean,
I see.
I guess it starts
like them trying to get back to the present.
Exactly. I mean, how long is that scene? It's like 20 minutes maybe. Whatever it is, I was just like, wow, this better land, right? This is just pushing and it better land. But I mean, I thought it was charming. I thought, it's clearly, it's not for everybody. It's going to alienate some people depending on what kind of sense of humor they have. But, I thought that was part of the appeal. So, I'll disagree with Cody a little bit in saying that I don't think, because I went into this cold, right? And I think that not having that exposure to their stuff, or their what they would consider their identity, I thought I was playing catch up a little bit. I don't know what I missed. Like I don't know if I missed any inside jokes, but I think I did. So I think that if I had gone in there at least seeing a couple of episodes or knowing who they were, I might have caught on, but I didn't. So I think that I probably would have liked it more than I did if I knew who they were before, and that normally doesn't happen. Like I went into Nathan Fielder's stuff not knowing too much about him at all. I think I only saw that pizza episode, and then I watched that one major TV show that he had, and I was all in. So with this one, I was a little less in, only because I didn't really get it at first, and then as it continued on, then I was like, oh, okay. So I don't know. Maybe Cody, you can tell me. Did I miss something?
So I don't know, because I haven't seen too much of it, though. I've been reading a lot, and apparently there's only like a handful of references to the TV show that like really truly pay off.
But how many? I mean,
like,
did I
3
not?
or 4?
Okay, well that's 3 or 4 less laughs, right? I mean, if you spread it across a 90-minute movie or whatever, I mean, again, maybe I would have liked it a lot more. But I just overall, I think this is so original, and that it would be hard not to recommend something like this, just because it's so original and so quirky and so fun and so weird. That it really works for me.
Yeah. Okay. And Jocelyn, your thoughts?
I can't believe nobody's mentioned Tom Green. I mean, come on, like the Canadian.
Yeah.
Like I think he had a very similar style of like completely deadpan delivery.
Yeah.
Anyway,
Undercutter's pizza.
And annoying. Like I know that. I know that Cody knows that I thought the guy in the hat, Matt Johnson, was a little annoying, and Cody was like, "Well, I think that's the point." And similarly to Tom Green, where that's kind of the point, Jocelyn. But anyway, I think for me, like the highlight, it like bookended for me. Like it had me on board as soon as I saw them cut the lines on the CN Tower. Like I was just like, what the heck are we in for? Like that's when I was just like, all right, I'm here for this. And similar to what Cody said, where I was just like, how the hell did they do this? Like, I don't want to know. I don't care. This is just like really hilarious and fun. And then of course the time travel stuff kind of got a little old. Matt Johnson, I think, is a little annoying to me. I thought it was particularly funny that the other guy, Jay, became like this like super big rock star, because he's like kind of the most like he looks like Jerry Seinfeld or something. He's like the most like non-rock star guy. And one of my favorite parts is when he's outside of the CN Tower and someone's like, "Hey, are you?" And he's like, "No, I just look like him." Like he's just like the most average guy in the world. So that cracked me up. So then I will also say that sort of what Kiko said as far as like it's leading to this ending, and it really has to stick the landing, and it really stuck the landing to me. Even I was telling my husband about it, and I was telling him about all the crazy stuff that was happening, but that one of my favorite parts is at the end when the guy just says, "Oh, you know what? Like, maybe we should go early."
Yeah.
And it's like perfect. It's just
it's a really good note. Yeah.
It's just the best way to end it. Like, if we're talking about, I mean, most movies just do not know how to end. And like talking about, you know, good luck, have fun, don't die, and it just kept going on and on and on. And this one, sometimes it just takes like the perfect sentence.
Well,
where it just literally gives me chills, because it like tied everything together. And his reaction too, where he's like, "Oh yeah, that's a good idea. Okay."
Yeah. Well, and I think that that's coupled too with the moment that happens with a whiteboard towards the end of the movie. That like those two things combine, I think makes it really land.
And just the way that that he delivers it, it's just so well done. It's like super like an afterthought, like, "Oh wait, I have one little suggestion," and his friend's like, "Oh, okay, yeah, that's a good idea. Let's do that." And then it's like, you know that everything will be okay because of that. And so, especially when you're doing a time travel movie, it's like the butterfly effect, where that's all it takes is like. So anyway, so that was fun for me. I thought it was very smart. Yeah, I wish it wasn't as low budget. I wish that it didn't seem as low budget as it was. I think it could have been even better if they had just like a little more American dollars behind it. That's what I'm trying to say.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, all right. Well, then we'll go ahead and get to our final thoughts and grades. And yeah, again, for me, I think that this movie is really, really funny. I think it will end up probably being one of the best comedies of the year when things are all said and done, because I think it would have been the best comedy of last year. So I feel like that's a fair shot there. And I think this movie accomplishes a few things really well. Number one, I think that it allows you to dive right into this like 20-year long, thing. And I think you can jump right in and be perfectly fine. You're not going to be lost or confused. They do set it up a little bit. And I think that that is in and of itself a really great feat. I think that it like really succeeds. And I don't know that any of us talked about it too much, but I think it really succeeds as like a Back to the Future parody. And I think that like those elements of it and the references towards it, and sort of like the way that it the score starts to build during that scene, which again I feel like, yes, that scene is long, but I was like thoroughly entertained throughout that scene, because I think it like has these moments where it's cutting to like real life stuff, and then and I think that really helps it. And then I think just the way that it's made makes this thing feel so fresh. It is incorporating like real life people. It's incorporating hidden cameras. The scene begins like before the CN Tower with this great scene of them going into like a hardware store, and they just serendipitously run into a really funny interaction with a person that kind of, sets the tone for it. And it's just really funny. It's super smart. It works as a parody. It works as like a hidden camera kind of thing. And then it works as a buddy movie, because I think that the relationship feels real and authentic, and as Jocelyn said, sticks the landing. So, I think normally speaking, I would probably be at a B with this movie. But again, because of like the first experience I had with it, because of the way that it's smartly made, because I feel like there's jokes in here that I've been thinking about for a year, which is really hard to do, I am going to give this a B+. And so, yeah, we'll go ahead and go to Kiko.
Yeah, you brought up the way that it's made. I still really don't know the answer to that. So, and I kind of don't want to know either. Like I don't know what was real and what wasn't. I really don't want to look it up, to be honest with you. I'd rather just keep it for what it is. But I'll say at the end it won me over. The duo, I thought they were strange. I thought again they were in line with Fielder and Tim Robbins more than these mainstream prank comedians. I have to tell you my Tom Green story later, but I have a Tom Green story. And so but watching it without any background, I think that hurt me. I don't think it'll hurt too many people, but it just but it also added to the unpredictability of it as well. So I didn't catch every reference yet. I would say that I stayed curious from the beginning to the end. So I'm at a B- here.
Okay. And Jocelyn.
Oof, I am on the fence on this. Oh man, I thought I knew, and then it came to this part, and now I'm like, I don't know where I want to land on it. All right, I think it has a lot of heart, and for that, I want to give it a B+. But I think that there's a lot of good parts about it, and I love the LCD sound system references as well. There's 2 LCD sound system references where I was very happy to see that. So for that, I will give it a B+.
All right, LCD sound system, bringing it over the edge to the B+. All right, and so that's going to do it for this week. So we're going to skip next week just because there's not a whole lot coming out. But the following week, we're going to be talking about Scream 7, as well as a couple of other movies that are coming out on either like VOD or like In the Blink of an Eye. The new Andrew Stanton movie comes out on Hulu and Disney+. There's a Paul McCartney documentary coming out on Prime, so that'll allow us to kind of see a bunch of different stuff instead of just like one or two things. So Kiko, anything new coming to the site anytime soon?
If you go check out CineSnob.net in the next day or so, I have interviews with actor Steven Tobolowsky. You might know him from Groundhog's Day. I first remember him from Mississippi Burning. He played a KKK leader, which is kind of crazy, but he's pretty popular. I interviewed him and the director Christopher Poland for Mimics, which is a dark comedy about a ventriloquist. And then I also interviewed an actress named Danica Jones, South African actress. She's the lead actress in a movie called Hunting Jessica Brock, which is a really violent action thriller. And then my last interview duo was with Matthew Lillard and Janine Mason. They're in a new TV series, or the second season of the TV series Cross, which you can find on Prime Video. So those are a few of the new interviews I'll have up, but check them out.
Awesome. All right. And then as always, if you want to find us and all of our content, please go to CineSnob.net, where you can find all of Kiko's interviews as well as individual reviews clipped so that you can just watch what you want to see. You can also subscribe to our YouTube channel, subscribe to us on Apple Podcasts, leave us reviews, ratings, thumbs ups, whatever you want to do. And then, we've got some movies coming up for the rest of February, and then March we're going to hit South by Southwest time. So lots happening, lots going on. So thanks everyone for listening, and we'll see you next time.
Thank you for listening to the CineSnob Podcast. To read reviews, interviews, and more, visit CineSnob.net. See you next week.